Extraordinary Phenomena Investigations Council presents Epic Voyages. Come join us as we enter and experience the great mysteries of the world with tonight's host, Ken Cherry.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ken Cherry, your host, and thank you for joining us. My guest this evening is author, speaker Tom T. Moore, author of the Gentle Way books. To find out more about Tom and to sign up for his free newsletter, please visit his website at thegentlewaybook.com. Welcome to the program, Tom.
Thank you, Ken, for having me, and hello to everyone out there that will be listening tonight.
Yeah. Tom, I see from your latest newsletters you're expecting some rather epic Earth changes, please forgive the pun, for 2012. But before we get into some of the specifics, perhaps you could discuss your process first for arriving at these, what would you call them, predictions, forecasts, probabilities?
Sure. I call it being a messenger, okay? Because what I do is I found that I can go into a light meditation and stay in what's called the alpha state. And people that meditate all the time probably know what I'm talking about there. And instead of going deeper into the theta state. And when I'm in an alpha state, I simply ask to speak to my own guardian angel and to Gaia, the soul of the earth, because all planets and all suns and everything all have souls that are actually running them, which some people might find interesting. And so I talk to them, and also, as we have discussed in the past, I also have conversations with my a member of my soul group or soul cluster, as my Guardian Angel Theo calls it. And he's a water being having a life on a Sirius B planet. And as I've discussed before, he'll be coming to see us in 2017. So those are the three main ones. I also even talk to the soul of the sun. So there's, but he's sort of like talking to a physicist. He has to really talk in very simple terms for me, because I don't have very much of a scientific background.
I see. Well, is the information that you request always based on questions that you receive from others, or does some of the information come to you as unprompted, so to speak?
No, it has to be questions. They said they'll answer almost any question that I pose, unless it's about someone's soul contract, because they won't tell me about my soul contract, and they won't tell me generally about anybody else's soul contract. But they will answer questions, and so I have to come up with the questions, and certainly most of them are supplied by my readers of my free weekly newsletter that goes all over the world to people. And so most of those come in from there, but I will also throw in my own questions from time to time.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you, how specific do they have to be? In other words, do you ask how many earthquakes we're going to have this year, or just give me a list of earthquakes, when they'll occur, or do you have to ask specifically, will
Pretty
we have...
specifically. So, as an example, when I ask about Japan specifically, I was told that they're about to have a major earthquake and tsunami, although the tsunami will be smaller than the one before, and the earthquake will not be a 9.0, but it'll be somewhere supposedly around the 8.0 range. Now, this is supposed to have happened, or will happen in the first 10 days of this month, and it has not happened yet. To coincide with that, or to precede it, the Sun told me he's going to have an X-class coronal mass ejection that will be magnetic in composition, I guess we could call it, and will help the Earth or Gaia move the crust. Now, again, the last time I was told Japan was going to have a major earthquake, it was supposed to have happened last, and I say not last, but pardon me, in late August or early September of 2010, and it didn't happen, of course, till March the 11th. So I don't know if it's going to keep fairly close to this 10 days, whether it's 10 or 12 or 14, or whether it's 3 months. All I can do is tell people what I'm told, and that's
right.
If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
You're right. Well, I see that some of your forecasts or predictions that you assign probabilities to that
Yep.
specific occurrence. I mean, how have you? First of all, are you assigning that, or are you being given that probability?
No. Yeah, I'm being given those. So as an example, the Japan was up at 98%. Now I'm told it's 100%. That our souls have to sign off on these major events, because our souls need these events to experience, because by the time we get through with all of our Earth lives, we have to experience everything that the Earth can offer us as experiences. And certainly floods and earthquakes and such, and hurricanes and tornadoes and whatever, all fall into that category that we have to experience as part of the Earth experiences. I know one of my lives I went down with Atlantis, so I've been there and done that. I don't I don't have to go to California or whatever and wait for it to happen again.
I see. Well, you certainly answered something that I'm sure we would all wonder, as to why our souls would sign off on experiencing such a great calamities as the poor Japanese folks have had over there.
Yeah.
And
actually, just today in meditation, I was kind of following up on that, because someone sent me a question asking, well, do our soul fragments sign off on it, or is it our souls? And I was told it was much more our souls as compared to the fragments that's you and me and everybody else having lives on Earth. We're just fragments of a soul. We're part of that soul cluster or soul group, and each soul group has about 6 to 12 fragments in each cluster. And these clusters work with other clusters. So, as an example, another cluster, one of the fragments might be your father in this life and your brother in the next, and your mother in another one, and your lover in another one. So you work with other soul clusters for all these learning experiences that you must have.
Well, you kind of lost me there, but I was thinking almost everybody that I've spoken to that remembers a past life or talks about a past life seems like they were a king or a queen or somebody famous, and I don't know how many souls you can fit into one person. I don't suppose that happens, does it?
Well, I mean, I know some of my past lives, and when I've been someone important, it's been someone important that caused a problem. I've been told that I was a bad pope in the early 3rd century. I've been told that I was a religious. You have to understand, my soul is very interested in spiritual and religion. Okay, and I've been told that in one life I helped sink the continent of Mu because I was a religious figure that encouraged the leaders of the country to attack another one with a big bomb that we didn't think the other country had, and they did, and caused them to retaliate. And so, you could be a king or whatever, but but maybe you're not always a good king, and that's the difference. One of my best lives, I was told, was the advisor to King William the Fourth, I think it was, from 1830 to 1837, and I was channeling for him. And during his reign, he abolished slavery throughout the British Empire. He changed the child labor laws, and he updated what was called the poor law. So, in other words, in the space of 7 years, he did a whole lot of good stuff, and supposedly I was part of that. So, but I was not a king or queen, whatever.
Well, I'd like to experience one of those opportunities to be a good king. So maybe I'll get
just to be royalty. I was some type of royalty, but just an advisor, and so supposedly there were some perks, except that after he died, I was forced to move to Paris because King Victoria did not want any of his advisors to be around because she was afraid we might pull a coup or something. Right. So there you go. I lived my last years in Paris. Such a poor existence.
What a terrible outcome. Yes. Well, you mentioned.
Get off of this. Let's get back.
Yeah.
Let me talk about probabilities because when I have been receiving these predictions, some of them have been right on the button. I mean, I was given where Katrina would make landfall within a half mile, and then others have not even happened at all, and that really. It really frustrated me, and I saw it was happening to many psychics and trance channels and things like that. And so I started asking about that, and I said, Theo, please explain more how our souls adjust or coincide with probabilities. And it says, yes, a very complex equation, we will call it, Tom. As I have stated before, certainly you all do have soul contracts for these lives, but what we may not have gotten into before is that these soul contracts are developed or created based on several potentialities which may or may not happen. So there is a soul contract, you might say, for each probability. So if one probability happens, it is but a slight adjustment from your soul point of view, as this was known prior to birth. So every probability is covered, Tom, which is very complex when you see it, when seen or viewed from a third dimensional standpoint, but is easily done from our side.
Well, it sounds like it's almost a variable there to ensure that everything is not completely pre-planned, that there is some randomness in life as well. So
yes, and also he said that some things don't happen because we have raised our vibrational level to a point where something really kind of cataclysmic for us does not happen. That happened after the harmonic convergence in, what was it, 87 or 88, whatever. I don't remember the year now. It's passing way back in the past. And if you read all the predictions from Nostradamus and Edgar Cayce and so on and so forth, there were supposed to be terrible cataclysms that were supposed to happen. And they did not, because we raised our vibrational level high enough for those things not to happen. So that's one of the things that happened. And they've told me that we're on timeline number 6. There's 12 timelines. We're in the middle of the pack. We have raised our vibrational level to the level of timeline 7. So in other words, we've done a great job of raising our vibrational level.
Well, and I assume you're talking about us as a group, as humanity. Does this apply across the board? I mean,
all people on Earth that are in this timeline 6.
I see. Okay, so it doesn't vary so much from individual to individual. It's
well, certainly it can. I mean, as an example, when we first started off 50 years ago, maybe some people were already maybe up almost at the top of timeline 6 vibrationally, where everybody else was maybe towards the bottom. So in other words, there are people, maybe it's a yogi, the yogis are very, very spiritual people that spend their whole lives in meditation or whatever, raising their vibrational level. But as far as the population as a whole goes, I think that's how our souls sort of take the reading, so to speak.
I see. Well, I know that you also teach people your meditative process, and I've heard feedback that for some people it works very well, and for others not as well.
Right.
So obviously there are this. I guess my question is, you mentioned religion. Is there any connection between a person's spiritual beliefs and how well these teachings work for them?
I don't think so. One of the things that I think helped me to be able to do these meditations was that I did start requesting benevolent outcomes. Now, one of the things that I did not understand when I started doing it, all I cared about was that it worked perfectly. It worked so much better than the law of attraction, anything that you see in The Secret, and all that other stuff. But one of the things I didn't understand that it did was it started raising my vibrational level. Okay, and that probably made it a little easier for me to eventually. Now, keep in mind, I started requesting benevolent outcomes 14 going on 15 years ago, and I didn't start communicating with Theo and Gaia and all until 2005. First time was in July, and 2005. So. In that time period from 14 or 15 years ago up to 2005, I was just requesting benevolent outcomes and becoming more aware and probably being able to listen to those whispers in your ear that they're sending you all the time, but a lot of times you ignore it and go stumbling on. But when you request benevolent outcomes in your life, it keeps you on your soul contract. So that's another great thing it does.
Yeah.
So it all kind of ties in a way, but I find that this is something that can be learned by everyone, but it's like learning to ride a bike or learning to play chess or something like that, something that takes you some effort, but the effort is worth it if you want to continue. You can't expect always to be successful in your first try. I show people how to do it, and it's up to you to start saying, well, I'm going to keep working at this until I do it.
How do you, when you're talking about vibrational level, how do you know that you've ascended to a different vibrational level? I mean, in what sense do you experience this or know it? I mean, it's
I think it's just a little bit more lighter feeling. I mean, that's the best way I can explain it, that you just seem to have a little bit more joy in your life, certainly when you start requesting benevolent outcomes and all these great things start happening to you. It makes you a more joyful person. And when you have these great challenges in life and and lo and behold, you're able to get past them, and all. It's just this great feeling of relief, and you know that there's this assistance, and when you know there's that spiritual assistance, it gives you that confidence, and it takes away the fear in life. So it's a combination of things.
I can see then how that helps you to deal with some of these things that you see, these calamitous events that may take place, how that would put a different perspective on it. And it's not just the suffering of our human body, it's a learning growth pattern for our souls, that is, if I'm reading this correctly.
Yeah, and now the question has to be that you have to ask is, why do we need all these experiences? What is the end game? What is the goal?
That's actually one of my questions. Go right ahead.
Oh, okay. Good. I was just a little ahead of you, I guess.
There you go.
The goal, supposedly, for our souls is that we're going to do something that's never been done in all the other billions of universes out there, and that is that because of going through this Earth experiment, our souls learn how to recreate and co-create and make decisions, and that's where Earth is unique. Of all the planets in this whole universe, we're the only one doing this experiment where we're blinded, or we're veiled from knowing anything about our souls and knowing anything about past lives, other lives in the universe, and so on and so forth. And it's like we think we're just it, and there's nothing else. And the reason it was done that way is for us to be able to learn how to make decisions that we will have to make when the creator of this universe turns over this universe to our souls, who will meld together, and our creator will go on to a higher level. And so we're going to take over running this whole universe.
But we're going to lose our personal identities in the bargain?
I think so. I think, after all, keep in mind, our souls were birthed from larger entities, okay? But many different entities we were birthed from. So by melding together, we will have all the experiences of all those different souls because being a creator of a universe is a big job.
That's a big job, yes, it is. How far in advance are you given knowledge of future events? I mean, I know you've laid out a number of specific predictions for this year that we'll get into, but just how far do you ask for events or see things happening?
Well, if we can direct people to my website, which is www.thegentlewaybook.com, and click on Articles and News. You'll see an article that I wrote in September on the right-hand column that says Probabilities and Predictions. When I wrote that article, some of my stuff goes, as an example, post offices. Within 25 years, they'll be gone. Mail will drop down to 2 days per week and then nothing. Printed newspapers, no printed newspapers within the next 10 years. Paper checks gone within 5 to 7 years. Bookstores gone within 10 years. Eating red meat, this will be gone in 20 years, which, considering we've been eating meat for thousands of years, is really quite soon. American football will fade away in 40 to 50 years due to families not allowing their children to participate because of potential injuries and the mellowing of the public, which will not enjoy watching violent sports. So you see, some of these things, no party system of government in 10 to 15 years. I've been told we're going to get rid of the Federal Reserve, believe it or not, within 10 years. So there are, some of the things they give me are farther out.
You know, I hope we're all around to experience most every one of those. I think my postal service hasn't arrived yet today, so.
Oh no. Well, I'm thankful. I have a nice little lady that zooms up in her postal truck at somewhere between 10 and 11 o'clock normally and a.m. and pops the stuff in the box that sits out in one of those brick boxes that they have. They don't have to walk the streets in this part of the town where I am now. Where I used to live, the guys had to walk from one place to the next. So I'm sure in order to speed up delivery, maybe they're going to force everybody to have a box outside. Who knows? Or things like that. Yeah, but it's still going to go downhill.
Well, it doesn't have to go much further down.
I know. I've got a couple of new predictions that I just received this morning.
Yeah.
Sure, I don't know if you've seen it on any or you've got any messages, but people are claiming that they're evacuating Ensenada, Mexico, because some dire event is going to happen. And so I had one of my readers email and asked me to ask, and so I said, I asked the soul of the earth, Gaia, I said, do you have any dramatic changes in store for Ensenada, Mexico, and I'll add in Baja California in 2012. And she says, actually, Tom, I may have some dramatic changes in store for both in 2012, but it will depend upon your soul signing off for Earth movements in Southern California, which will extend past San Diego into Mexico. So they very well could be in for a much larger movement of my crust during the second half of 2012. And then I asked, Baja California will not sink into the ocean, will it? No, but it will almost be cut off from the mainland, or it could be. That's how severe things could be there. But I will add at this point, no one is evacuating Ensenada. That is false information being given out to create fear. One of those bogus conspiracy theories passed around for those who wish to believe in such things. Okay?
Well, that brings up a question. Do we get to vote on what happens to California, or is it just the folks there?
No, it's actually I think it's actually the souls of the soul fragments that are living in California. Remember, it goes